Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly episode, episode number 166 for May the 10th, 2022. So, this week was a mixture of hell and a mixture of learning a few things. And so I'm going to talk about things I've learned and why things were hell. So let's jump right into it, and I'm going to show you. Let's just go up to my screen here. You have seen this before. This is my Easy Bargello from Jordan Fabrics, and I told you about all the problems I had with it last week. I had problems with keeping my seams straight, my strips straight. I programmed stuff incorrectly into my quilt path, and then I debated whether or not I would actually bind it or just cut it up, make it into a bag, or throw it in a corner somewhere. Well, I did decide, in for a penny, in for a pound, let's finish the whole damn thing off. Now, I did try a couple of things on here. I think I went over those last week to correct it, and yeah, they sort of worked, but that wasn't the thing you should do, put it that way. But I did bind it, as you can see, and it's all bound, and I did not throw it in a corner. After I got the binding on it, and you know, they say that binding does change the appearance of a quilt. It can make some difference, and I do believe that. So I hung it up, and I'll show you. It hangs up in my front hallway by my front door. Yeah, it's hanging a little crooked here. When I took that picture, I realized it was crooked, so I did straighten it up, but I didn't take another picture. So yeah, it's not your eyes, it's just me, as usual. But anyways, it looks pretty good in that spot. Kind of fills in that area that was blank. And it kind of works, and this was just serendipitous. I have quilts running down along the stairs down to my sewing room here. You know, you can see them in behind me here. And so it's just at the right level where it kind of makes everything look like it's going down on a diagonal, and it was meant to be that way. Who am I to argue with anybody if they notice that and say how clever I was? Yeah, as long as I don't look too close at this quilt. Now, the average person who doesn't quilt, even a quilter, would notice, I don't think, the problems I had with this. Of course, I'm hypercritical because I made it. I know what the mistakes are. But if you don't point them out to somebody, and if you keep Walter's mouth shut about it when people come here, because he will point out the mistakes to them, I think he gets sort of a sadistic pleasure out of doing that for some reason. Well, he's Dutch. Dutch background. Anyways, yeah, it looks good there. Walter even said it looked good there. So that's high praise. That is high praise. So yeah, that's what I did with it. So it wasn't a total loss, but I learned a few things. So that was the first piece of hell. Now, the other piece of hell, of course, was the Glowing Hearts quilt. Here are two of the blocks that go into this. It is a sampler type quilt you've heard me talk about before, and you'll notice that one of these blocks is smaller than the other block, although they are the exact same block. Now, why would that be, you would say? And I know, don't need to write it in the comments. I know why. I have been having a lot of problems with my 1/4 inch seam allowance. You want to know something? I've been having a lot of problems with that way before I even started this particular quilt. Everything I sewed seemed to be out by 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, and I checked my 1/4 inch seam and the whole bit. It seemed to be measuring up fine. I tried different things, tried moving the needle, whatnot, but everything seemed to measure up when I put it on sample pieces, but blocks did not. Well, I didn't get too worried about that, in the sense that, you know, at least it's consistent. So my blocks may not be coming out to the exact measurements that I'm being told they should come out in my pattern, but they are all the same. So when I put the quilt together, it all works, and the quilt might be slightly different dimensions than what the final dimensions are in the pattern, and I can live with that. At least I thought I could live with that. So I was voicing this concern to some other people during the pop-up sew day, and well, before I jump into that, what I did was I really noticed the problem when I started putting this particular block together, because there are a lot of points that need to be matched up. And if you look at this first one on the left, these pieces right here do not match up. Right here in this little area, this intersection, and there's not enough fabric up here that when it gets put into the quilt, that the points will show. They'll get cut off. And that was really frustrating me. I made 2 of these. They both came out the same way. Both, no matter what I did, I could not get these intersections here to line up properly. Now, if you look at it, it doesn't look bad that way, but it bothers me because that's not the way it's supposed to look. It's supposed to look like this. See? These all match up. And look, there is enough fabric here that when I put this into the quilt, I will not chop off my points. So, and this one's bigger. When I measured this one, it came out to the exact size, 8.5 inches square, that the pattern called for. So, what's going on? Well, I'm going to talk about that in a moment, so stay tuned. Let's move on here. Get me back here, okay? So I am going to come to that because that's a little bit more of a detailed instruction, and I want to leave it for my next section. But for now, what I want to talk about too, so that was hell, but there was light at the end of the tunnel for that. Walter was off on a sewing workshop, a 5-day sewing workshop, where he was learning all kinds of things about, fitting garments, making a bomber jacket, how to do concealed zippers, all kinds of stuff. And we've talked about that workshop on Stephen and Walter Live this week. But needless to say, I was home alone most of the week. So, of course, one of the things that made the week bearable on my own, because I get lonely. I'm sorry, I do. I get lonely. Was Craft and Chat. Craft and Chat was this past Wednesday. We had a great time. Everybody was there. That was great. But partway into the Craft and Chat, we had a little incident. This is a piece of hell this week. There was one individual who was new to my channel who joined the Craft and Chat. Well, first of all, this person was struggling with the technology, but that's okay. I kept trying to help her out, but either she couldn't hear me or what, or she just refused to take my help. I don't know. That should have been an indication right at the beginning I was going to have a problem. Now, let me say, before I get into the problem, that I am not going to identify this person, but this person is no longer welcome on my channel. And you'll find out why now. We were having a nice little discussion. I don't remember what the discussion was about. I think we were talking a little bit about politics. And, my policy about Craft and Chat and Pop-Up Sew Days is let's keep it light. Let's keep it, friendly. Talk about quilting, sewing, or crafts, that kind of stuff. But let's not get too hot and heavy because the world is already too hot and heavy, right? It's a chance for us to relax, do something we enjoy doing, and no drama. And everybody always follows that guideline. Yeah, sometimes we veer a little bit away of it, but we always come back to, not back to the relaxed state. Well, I don't know what the discussion was because, to be quite honest, I was working on my project and had one ear listening, and my brain, as I was trying to figure out why I was having so many problems, was concentrating more on my problems than on what people were saying. But at one point during the discussion, this person turned around and said, almost made it sound like a threat. You don't threaten me. Sorry, I don't respond well to threats. That she wasn't appreciating. Now, I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember the exact words, but it was something to the effect she didn't like the way the conversation was going at all, and if it continued on that way, she was leaving. Okay. Suddenly, people stopped talking, and a couple of people got very defensive. I think they were embarrassed, and they turned around, they apologized. They said, oh, I'm so sorry, yeah, and this kind of thing. And I thought, wait just a minute. Even though I wasn't totally concentrating on the conversation, I know there was nothing being said that was offensive or was in any way meant to offend or hurt anybody's feelings or anything like that. And I turned around and I said to this person, well, I'm sorry. If you feel that way, then maybe you should leave. And she did. And good. But to the rest of the people there, I knew that this suddenly dropped the whole tone and the whole atmosphere down the tubes. And I didn't like that at all. So I said to everybody, look, it's my sandbox. It's my rules. However, I want you to know that nobody on here was doing anything that I would consider offensive, or there wasn't anything there that anybody should have been upset with at all. Everybody was being very respectful in anything that they said. And they always are. At least the group that comes to Craft and Chat and to Pop-Up So Days are always extremely polite, extremely respectful. They take into consideration other people's feelings. So I didn't want anybody going away that day feeling that they had done something wrong, because they had not. And then I told them the story about this particular individual. This particular individual was on one of our lives a couple of weeks ago. And the conversation did get a little hot. Well, not hot, but we started to talk about things you should never talk about in mixed company. You know, politics, religion, the weather. And, you know, as we do on live, we will state our opinions, and other people will state theirs as well. It's a friendly conversation. And we don't always agree, but, you know, that's life, isn't it? You can please some of the people some of the time, but, you know, blah, blah. So, on that particular live, we did get into some politics and some discussion about religion. Okay? But it was a sharing of minds. No one was offending anybody. Everybody was being polite and respectful. This individual disappeared. That was fine. People come and go on that. But the next day, there was a comment written under the live, and she said she had to leave because the conversation was just going, and again, I'm paraphrasing, was just not going in the way that she liked it. She was feeling completely uncomfortable, and she didn't, and it was, okay, this is not about you. Now, at that point in time, we hadn't had Craft and Chat yet, so the incident hadn't happened with this same person. I wrote back and said, you know, I'm sorry that you felt that you needed to leave, but that is fine. You know, at any time, I have very little control over the direction of the conversation. I draw the line at hate comments and racism and things like that. Those are not allowed, and I will definitely intercede on those, but in a pleasant sharing of minds. And we may not all agree with everybody else's opinion, but that is okay. Then, you know, I don't worry about it. So, but if I said, you know, if you felt that was too much for you, then yes, by all means, just leave. Well, she did. I guess she did on that one, and the same thing came up in Craft and Chat. Now, here's the thing. She is a person that thinks the world revolves around her. It does not. You know the kind of person. Me, right? And I don't need those kind of people on my channel. And I don't need them coming into my Zoom rooms because my goal of having pop-up so days and having Craft and Chat days is that people have a good time. That's relaxing, it's sharing, it's friendly. And, you know, I don't need people like her. So good. Goodbye. Good riddance. If she ever rears her ugly little head again onto my channel, I will block her. Now, that may sound harsh, but she has issues, and I don't want her issues in my face. So anyways, that was some of the hell this week, but I think it had a happy ending, so that's okay. All right, so if you missed Craft and Chat, that's too bad. We did have a good time once we got rid of her, and Pop-Up So Day was a lot of fun. Got a lot done. I was home alone, and it was like, I just love doing the Pop-Up So Days, and I love doing Craft and Chat because I consider the people that come on my friends. And it's a way that I can talk to them. I get great ideas from them. We share. It's inspiring. So if you've never done one, do one. If you want to be on the mailing lists, I have 3 mailing lists, one for Retreat, which I run twice a year, spring and fall. I have the pop-up sew days, which usually you don't get a warning about those until 24 hours before. That's why I call them pop-up. But they're always on a Saturday because that's to accommodate those people who have a job and can't make it to a craft and chat. And craft and chat is my other mailing list. If you would like to be on any of those or all of those, just drop me a line. Email addresses in the show notes, and I'll be more than happy to add you to the list. Also, I always post the Zoom links in the show notes when we're getting close to the event date and time as well. Okay, so I've already talked a little bit about Walter's workshop. He had a great workshop. He talked about it more extensively on Stephen and Walter Live. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. I made some things, and I've got a picture, I think, of them. Yeah, here they are. I'll just show you what those are. I made some design boards. Now, Shirley Heineman, who I have interviewed, you know Shirley. She's a regular subscriber and has her own YouTube channel, Around to It, it's called. If you've never checked it out, do check it out. And she was making design boards, and she was making them on large canvas panels. Now, I've made design boards on actual canvas, stretch canvas. But she said the advantage of doing this is you could actually iron on them. And it's just felt that's on them. Now, mine are not as fancy as Shirley's. Shirley took a lot of time to make hers look really nice. I'm more functional. But these work. I got, they're 12 by 12, and I use them. I've been using them. You can see there's a little bit of lint still on that blue one. But yeah, I'm sure you have heard of this idea before. But they work really well. And I think she got her canvases at Michael's. I just ordered mine online, Amazon. Of course I ordered from Amazon. You know what I say. A day without delivery from Amazon is a day without sunshine. So I made those, and so that was productive. That's the word I want. Yes, productive. Little tongue tied today for some reason. I'm gonna have more coffee. A lot of things going through my head today while I'm doing this, and I need to get focused here. Okay, so I also needed a little bit of retail therapy this week as well. Don't mind me. I'm just trying to find where my bloody pictures are. Ah, yeah, here we go. Okay. So while Walter was at his workshop Friday afternoon, I was a little antsy, and I thought I need to go shopping. So I went down to Ultimate Sewing and came home with these. Aren't these pretty? These are so nice. I walked in the door. They had a display of all of these, and I just went right up to one of the employees there, Lynn, and said, "Oh, Lynn, I want 2 meters of each of those, please." And she says, "Oh, shoot, I just put up that display. Now I have to take it down." And I went, "I still want 2 meters of it. You are not going to make me feel guilty." No, 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 no. They're pretty. I'm here. I want them. And she did them. And there they are. Now, they looked a little familiar to me. Okay. So I was thinking, well, Walter bought me a big box of 80 fat quarters at Christmas time that I have yet to use because I'm still looking for the perfect pattern for them. They're too pretty to cut in. And I'm thinking to myself, are they the same as these? And I thought, no, I think they're different. They had a different name for the line. These are done by Tim Holtz, the crafter. Everybody knows Tim Holtz if you're in the crafting world. He was a god to me for many, many years when I was a crafter. And he is advancing more into the lines, into fabric lines. And so this is his Alchemy Collection. And it is based upon his line of alcohol inks that he's come out with called Alchemy. And yeah, they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful, the colors. But I thought, well, no, why do they still look familiar to me? And I thought, well, maybe I've seen them online or whatever. So I sent Walter a picture of them because I thought they'd make these colors, these fabrics would make nice shirts, right? I mean, I'd love a shirt either made out of the purple or this blue right here. So I sent him a picture of that. And when he got home, he says, I got you a couple of fat quarter bundles that have those fabrics in it. And I went, no, you didn't. He said, yes, I did. And I went, no, you didn't. He said, yes, I did. So I went into my fat quarter drawer, pulled out the 2 packages. Yep, he did. Of course he did. But that's okay. I've got more of it now because I really, really love it. Again, looking for a pattern that will be worthy of those fabrics. So that made me happy. Retail therapy always makes me happy. So what really floated my boat, though, and this is what I alluded to when I was showing you, though, with Glowing Hearts blocks, is I had 3 eureka moments during Pop-Up Sew Day, thanks to the people that were sewing with me. The first one was about your 1/4-inch seam allowance. Now, I knew some of this stuff before. I knew that if you do not have an accurate 1/4 seam allowance, that you are going to have problems with your blocks. I knew that. But I have checked my 1/4 seam allowance many times, and it's bang on. So why am I having the problem with the blocks? I always use my 1/4-inch foot on my sewing machine that has the edge guide. Aha! We got talking. One person, I think it was Johanna, who's a regular subscriber and also a friend of mine on the Quilter's Way, she said the problem with the edge guide on those is that, one, they can get bent, and that would put things out of alignment, and 2, sometimes your fabric, when it's butted up against it, will slightly curl up, and you can't see that because of the way it's designed and the spot it's on by the needle, and you won't really notice that. Aha! So I examined my 1/4-inch foot with the edge guide. Is it bent? Didn't seem to be, and it was pretty stiff piece of steel there. It's like spring steel. So I'm thinking that's not the problem. But maybe it's the other thing. Maybe my fabric is getting curled up and I don't realize it. So my M7 came with what they call the 1/4-inch HP foot. And you use it with the HP presser foot plate. Template. I don't know what you call those. Anyways, presser foot plate. So I hooked that all up. Now, it does not have an edge guide. And I've always relied upon the edge guide to keep things straight. But maybe it's time to put on my big boy pants and, start using the foot itself. So I put that down and I did a little sample piece, a sample block that I was actually working on these blocks. So I had some that had already done with the edge guide to compare to this. Yeah, that was it. My block came out exactly the dimensions it was supposed to come out. Everything went together, points aligned, the whole bit. I was doing a happy dance when I figured that out. Now, I know you can save your time. You don't have to write these comments. I know that this is a common problem, and that's what I should have done a long time ago. I know all of that, and I didn't. That's why I call myself the Idiot Quilter, because I make idiot moves. And that was an idiot move. But I was so happy. So now what I'm doing is I immediately went back and redid that block for the Glowing Hearts one, and I showed you how it turned out. Yeah, I'm thrilled with that. Now I have a new problem. I'm doing a block of the month. We have done the main center block, and we have done a bunch of smaller blocks for this, and I have used the edge guide for it. And the measurements of those they're consistent, but they're all out. But I do not want to redo those blocks because there's many pieces in them. So I could go ahead and for the rest of the blocks for the block of the month, just use the edge guide foot so everything's consistent. But I don't want to do that now that I know that that's wrong. So I guess I'll make the rest of the blocks using the HP foot, and I'll fudge it. I'll make them work. I've done it before. I'll make the blocks work. They're not out that much. So I think I can do it. Not the best way, or worst case scenario, when I get to the end of the block of the month stuff, if it's really that bad with those ones, I'll redo them. I really don't want to redo the middle one though, because it's a lot of pieces. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So that was Eureka moment number 1. Eureka moment number 2. Okay, so as I'm sewing, I'm looking at my stitches and they're not looking right. I'm thinking, what's going on here? Well, maybe I need to clean out the machine. Now, I keep my machines very clean. I clean them out after every project and, and oil them in the whole bit. But I thought, well, maybe I've been doing a lot of little pieces and things like that, so maybe I should clean that out. So I did. And got it up and running again, and nope, same problem. The stitches were looking a little loose. So I'm thinking tension problem. Now, on the M7, I have never, knock wood, had a tension problem. It has an automatic tension adjustment system on it, and I rely upon that. So I took a look at that just to make sure for some reason that hadn't been turned off. I don't know why it would have been, but I checked it out, and nope, it was fine. So I'm thinking, maybe I need to change my needle, because I'm trying to think to myself, when was the last time I changed that needle? Now, I use titanium needles, so they don't need to be changed out as often. But, when in doubt, change it out. So I took a look, and when I was about to put the new needle in, take the old needle out, I looked at and noticed that my thread had sort of wrapped around the needle just a couple of times, a little spiral. So I thought, could that have an effect? Yep. Rethreaded the machine, got that right. No problem. So something as simple as that was affecting my tension. Eureka moment. Now, I know people are going to come back on me and say, you're an idiot. You should have checked that. How, when in doubt, when you're having a tension problem, always rethread your sewing machine. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I know that. But I didn't. But I do now. So that was Eureka moment number 2. Eureka moment number 3. The clapper. You know what a clapper is. It is a little piece of wood, kind of shaped like an oval. And apparently, if you have a stubborn seam that won't lie down when you're pressing it, you just put this on top of it, and presto bingo, it will lay down. Yeah, sure it will. I mean, if I steam the hell out of it and still not laying down, this little piece of wood's not going to make any difference, is it? Yeah, it does. It's now my new favorite toy. I had these seams that just wouldn't lay down. I steamed the shit out of them. And so I decided, well, it's sitting right there. Let's put it down and see what happens. Put it down, 30 seconds later, flat seam. I couldn't believe it. I've heard people talk about these before and say how good they are. Walter has one. In fact, this is one he gave me because he got a more sophisticated one because it's got something on it that turns out collars and stuff on shirts, and that's for garment makers. And I still had never really used it, and so I'm using it now. Yep, it works. So 3 Eureka moments. So that made the week interesting. There was a little bit of hell and a little bit of heaven. So let's have some coffee. And that went on for quite a while. But yeah. Okay. So that takes me to next segment, which is what's on my, or a demo actually. And I keep referring to my vision board. And I've had a few people ask me, what is a vision board? Now, I call it a vision board. You would call it a bulletin board, whatever. It's where I hang things, but I thought I'd show you how I use that. So I'm going to insert the little video clip I made of my vision board. I had somebody write me a comment on one of my videos asking me what I meant by a vision board. Well, this is my vision board. Now, technically speaking, a vision board is something where people take clippings from magazines or articles or print things off the internet and put them on like a bulletin board or something that is leading up to a possible project or is inspiration for them. So mine is really not so much a vision board, but that's what I call it. And this is basically where I put patterns that I want to do, or information that will help me with a project in the future, or gives me an idea for a project in the future, I post them here on this bulletin board. And the reason I do that is if they're here on display, then I might actually get around to doing them, because I have found that if I tuck these kind of patterns or things away in a drawer somewhere or in a box, out of sight, out of mind. So this is why I post them here. Now, I've got quite a few things here that I want to do and I haven't got to yet. Some of these things have been sitting up here for well over a year or more. And in fact, I'm just noticing here I've got some project bags and things that I wanted to make and haven't got around to them. And also have a pattern up there too. It's one of those collage ones I can see. And I should pull that down. Take a look at it. That one I've had for quite some time. But nevertheless, every now and then when I'm not sure what I want to work on next, I will take a look at that. Now, as an extension to my vision board, I'll show you over here, I have a few blocks and that hanging up on my fabric shelf. I have a series of hooks up there where I just hang things. And for example, those two blocks over here in this side are done with my Accuquilt. And it's just a reminder that I want to try and make more blocks using the other dies in my cube sets that I've recently acquired from Accuquilt. So that's where they hang for a while anyways. And this is an in the hoop embroidery project I've been working on for a while. Got to get back to it too, because I've got about 4 more blocks to make on that before I can finish up the wall hanging. And you can see there I've got a few little pieces that are part of that drunkard's path, again from Accuquilt. But again, by hanging them up here, they serve a couple of purposes. One, again, they remind me of what I want to do or eventually get to. I always have a lot of projects, and you know what it's like. You want to do this, you want to do that, but there never seems to be enough time to get through them all. And they're also pretty. So I kind of like pretty things. So I put them there, and they're sort of adding, to my workroom area. Now, another thing that I've done recently is on my 3D printer, I created this little box. It's a magazine box. But what I've been looking for are fat quarter projects, because way back at Christmas time, Walter bought me a really beautiful box of fat quarters, and I'm still looking for a pattern that I can use those in. So I've got them all here in this one section. I also keep my journals in here as well. And on the other side, again, these are patterns that I'm thinking of doing very soon. These actually probably should go up on my vision board as well here. But this is just, I find that if I can keep things neatly organized, but I keep them in sight, then I have more of a chance of actually doing these kind of projects rather than putting them away in a drawer where I can't see them. Because I have a drawer full of patterns. Some of them I have done, others of them were ones, well, I collect patterns basically, especially free ones. And they're in a filing cabinet drawer, and if I don't open that drawer up and take a look every now and then, I forget about them. So this is just my method for, inspiring me and, reminding me that these are things I want to do. So I hope that explains the whole concept of a vision board, or at least the way I use it. So that takes me to Subscriber's Quilt of the Week. This is a lovely creation by a regular subscriber on here, and it's Glenna Miller. And here's this week's quilt from subscriber is from Glenna Miller. And Glenna writes, "Hi, Stephen. The Friday night of your quilt retreat, I showed a quilt type I had just completed. The name of the quilt is Beyond the Cube, designed by Kay England. It was designed to use the Accuquilt 8-inch cube and 8-inch companion set corners and 8-inch companion set angles. My local quilt shop has an Accuquilt club and used this quilt as a quilt of the month in 2021. The best suggestion from the coordinator was to press the seams open. This quilt is 96 by 96 inches, so I sent it to my local long armor. She did a fantastic job selecting the quilting pattern. Thank you for letting me share." Well, let's take a closer look at this quilt, Glenna. It is phenomenal. And all done with the Accuquilt system. And as you know, I've recently acquired that system and want to do something similar using just the Accuquilt system to create a quilt. And this looks like a good one for that. And I may have to look that one up. So let's take a closer look here. Here's the quilt label as well. And I really like how you did this. It's very clear. It's right into the binding, and it definitely gives the background information that one might be interested in about this quilt. So here's the quilting. And as she said, as Glenna said, she sent this out to be done because it's a very, very large quilt. And yeah, your quilt person, your long arm person, did a really nice job on this quilt. So it's absolutely beautiful. And I love the fact that it's one that's all been done using the Accuquilt system. And Glenna, thank you so much for sending this to me. And I think I may be out of quilts to show you from other subscribers. So if you've got something, and it doesn't have to be a quilt, it can be anything, send me a note, attach 1 or 2 pictures, brief note about what it's about, very brief, 2, 3, 4 sentences, and I'll be happy to feature your creation here. Okay, so that takes me to the YouTube channel of the week, and this is one by a company that does put up tutorial videos, but not on a regular basis. They're out in BC. They're called, I wanted to say, they're Cottage Treasures. Well, it'll be in the little video clip. I may have that name wrong, but they had a very interesting demo and called One Block Wonder Panel. Their tutorials are always very, very good, and they usually sell kits to go with their tutorials as well. And I have bought several of them over time and had great success with them. So, well, this week's YouTube video of the week is an excerpt from Cottage Treasures, which is out in BC. They don't publish a lot of videos on a regular basis, but when they do, they're usually very detailed tutorials. And I especially like this one because it's called a One Block Wonder using a panel. Now, it's a little bit of a misnomer here because you need multiple panels of the same panel, from what I gather, to make this particular quilt. But the end result is really quite interesting. And the instructions that are given here by, and I forget what his name is, but he does a really great job of showing you exactly how to put something like this together. The end result is, as I said, fantastic. So if you've never checked out Cottage Treasures, you probably should. I have bought some kits from them in the past, and I've always found their instructions that come with the kit very clearly written. And of course, they usually have a tutorial, a video tutorial on YouTube to go along with it, so that you can get the right idea or learn how to make this very well. So check this out. I think you'll find it fascinating. So next, that takes me to what is on my vision board, now that you know what my vision board's all about. And this one is called, this is a pattern called Mix It Up Table Runner that I haven't done yet, but it's there on my list of projects to do. This week's quilt pattern for my vision board is actually for a table runner, and this one is called Mix It Up Table Runner. You can be found, it's a free pattern that you can download as a PDF. It's on the allpeoplequilt.com site. And the reason this one appealed to me is because it uses fat quarters primarily. And also I can see how you could use your Accuquilt die cutting system to make short work of this particular piece. And that's why I downloaded it. Now, I'm not very fond of the color choice or the pattern choice in their fabrics, but that's okay. The basic design of it I do like. And of course, it's got stars, and I'm always into stars as well. So this is one that I thought I might make as a nice spring or summer kind of table runner, choosing appropriate fabrics for that season. And yeah, I use my Accuquilt with it. I think it's a fairly easy pattern, and it should sew up pretty quick. So it might make a nice gift as well if you happen to need a hostess gift or something else during the next few months. So that can be found on allpeoplequilt.com, and it is called the Mix It Up Table Runner. And so now we're at that segment where I usually critique one of my own quilts. Guess what? We're caught up. I don't have any quilts left in my stash to really critique. But does that mean there won't be in the future? Oh yeah, there will be. I probably will not be doing this segment in the future because usually now I'm caught up. So anything I create from here on in, I'll be showing you as I finish it, and I'll be critiquing it then. But I just want to say one thing about myself, and this is probably a lot of people who quilt, a lot of makers of anything really. We are our own worst critics, aren't we? We can always see our mistakes, and you know, you have to realize you are going to make mistakes. I think first of all there's this acceptance. The acceptance is not everything I make is going to be perfect, so live with it. And also a lot of the times when we critique something that we have created, nobody else ever knows that that's a problem. We only know it ourselves, and if we point it out to somebody else, then they know too. So keep our mouth shut. Take the praise. When somebody says, hey, I love it, it looks great, go, thank you. Don't go, yeah, but I made this mistake here and made that mistake there. And that's what I mean about being our own worst critics, because we do that, don't we? And maybe we should not. It makes us feel bad when we do that. And I don't want to feel bad about the things that I create. And I don't think I should dwell on my mistakes either. Because, you know, like it was really eating me up that those blocks in the With Glowing Hearts quilt were not going together right. It really was. It was almost making me getting me to the point where I'm thinking, do I want to quilt anymore? That's how bad it was. Thank God for the eureka moment with the foot business. But that just got me thinking. Don't let mistakes or little errors get you down. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill, really. It's just fabric, it's just thread, or it's just paper and it's just glue, or whatever your mediums are that you work in. Learn from that mistake, move on. Don't let it kill your mojo. So that's what I've been basically trying to point out, I guess, subconsciously when I critique my own quilts. There it is. There's the mistake. I'm living with it. I'm moving on. Okay? So, yeah, that's all I want to say about that. So I think Critical Me as a segment with one of my quilts will no longer exist because I'm caught up. Okay, so that takes me to an interview I did in the past week. It will be going up today. In fact, the link for it is in the show notes below. And this was with a young man who lives in England. His name is Adam, and he has a YouTube channel called Adam Sews. And I'll have the link to his YouTube channel in the show notes below as well. And he's not only a quilter, he sews garments, he makes, for lack of a better term, dolls, characters, things like that. He's been sewing since he was 12 years old. So here's a little teaser. I noticed that you are probably sitting in your sewing room or your crafting room. Can you give us a brief description of it? Like, is this a huge space, a small space?
It was originally our dining room, but because it was a room that was only used sort of once a fortnight, it just seemed it was an unused room. And the room that I was in upstairs, which was like the study size room, was just, I outgrew it. I hoarded too much stuff into it. So it's only, I live in a tiny little 2-bedroom Victorian cottage, so it's probably only 11 foot by 10 foot. It's not huge. I think it looks bigger on video than it is in real life.
Yeah, it does. It does. And you have a fireplace in there, don't you?
I do, yeah. It's got a proper log burner, and yeah.
Yeah, because and now that you tell me that it was your dining room before, it makes sense that there's a fireplace in there because I've noticed that in your videos and I'm thinking, you've got a fireplace in your sewing room. But then I think, but it is England and tend to, and you called this a cottage. So I imagine it's a relatively older dwelling.
It is, yeah. We still don't have mains gas or mains sewage, so we still have a septic tank, and we only have electricity coming into the property. We don't have. It's bizarre. It's almost like we're about 50 years behind everyone else in the real world.
Yeah, but I mean, be coming from North America and from Canada, which, we're a relatively new country in comparison to the history of England and that kind of thing. My mind immediately when I saw the fireplace went to, you live in like a 400-year-old house and that must be really quaint. I know that's not the absolute reality there, but I have an imagination and I like to use it. So
yeah, it's a fairly old property.
yeah. Do you actually use the fireplace in there? Is it?
Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah, throughout the winter, it's on.
So I really enjoyed that interview, and I have some more lined up that I'm going to do over the next couple of weeks. So there will be more Idiot Quilter presents somebody coming up. Okay, so that takes me to the fabric store, online quilting fabric store of the week, and this one's called So Little. This week's Time. Online quilt store is called So Little Time, and it's located in Cambridge, Ontario. And they do have a brick and mortar store as well as an online store. So let's just take a look at this spot. And here you can see it's their front page. And it's got a little bit of a different design than other websites that I have seen as well. But let's just check out what they're showing on their front page. So they've got some featured products here. Ooh, I like the multi crazy for cats panel. That's kind of nice. They're talking about themselves. Hello, I'm Nora McGuire and welcome to my website. I hope you have a lot of fun here. My first introduction into quilting came from my maternal grandma Smith. She pieced together a sunbonnet soon, had the church ladies quilted. She also started a pansy quilt. All the leaves were appliqued using a buttonhole stitch. I still have both of these quilts and cherish the memory of my grandma who has long since passed from my life. Okay, so she comes from a line of quilters. About So Little Time, with over 30 years of quilting experience, So Little Time has grown from a hobby to a very successful business. We have many different types of fabrics and patterns in stock. If you don't see what you're looking for, just ask. We may be able to get it for you. Click here to browse the collection. So, okay, that gives us a little bit of knowledge about them. They have a little picture here of a part of their store. So let's jump right into it, shall we? And let's check out their fabrics. And they have them by name. And just see here if they're organized in any other way. Looks like they cover a whole lot of different designers. They have ones on sale. They have panels, patterns, quilt kits, and wide backing fabric. Okay, well, I don't know if I want to search by, I guess I have to search by the name of the fabric. Okay, if I just click on fabrics, what's going to come up? Not much. It looks like I'm going to have to do my search according to the name. So I was looking for one here that I might be familiar with. Canadian Classic. Let's see what that's all about. Okay, it's got the Northcott line. $17. I'm assuming that's by a meter. That's not unreasonable given today's prices, as we have been discovering through this series of mine where I look at online quilt stores. Butterfly Haven. I like butterflies. Let's see what's here. Okay. They're willing. Rent at Lips here. They're willing to prints. Again, $17. I kind of like the butterfly looks. All's wool that ends wool. Okay, that's something I don't know. I suspect it has something to do with wool. Or maybe not. I don't know. Let's just take a closer look at one of these. It looks like their standard price is $17 per yard. It's not a meter, it's by yard. You know how I feel about that, but they go as small as a 1/4 yard. Okay. Let's just see. Yarn balls, light background by canvas. Okay. We're not getting very detailed descriptions of the pattern. Crazy for Cats. Let's check that out. Okay, that was that panel. $12. All right. So, yeah, you've got to kind of know the name of a designer. And that's okay if you do. Let's see. I'm just looking for somebody else here that I might have heard of, because a lot of these I've never heard of before, which isn't a bad thing. That means you can explore new designers. Woodland Wonder Studio E. Okay. Well, there's some pretty things in here. So again, it looks like the standard price is $17 per yard. So that's not terrible. That's within the ballpark. Actually, it's a little bit on the cheaper side right now. And it looks like they have some interesting fabrics to choose from. All right, let's take a look at patterns. So Little Time patterns. And we have got about 24 patterns listed. Well, there's something here that I'm sure there's something that you could find that might grab your interest in that. Quilt kits. And we, at this moment in time, we do not have any quilt kits. Okay, wide backing. Let's see what they're charging for that. $22, $24, $20 a yard. Okay, the prices aren't bad, but they only have 8 to choose from. And to be honest, none of these fit my particular aesthetic, but they're not a bad price. Okay, so what else? Featured products. And those we saw at the very beginning. And what do they have on sale? Please make an appointment to come and see the sale fabric. Well, that's interesting. Making an appointment. I wonder if that's a leftover from COVID. Maybe, I don't know. Well, nothing much there to see. Okay, so what else do they have to sell? Did they sell notions? About us, customer service, long arm quilting. They do long arm quilting. They have a show schedule. Quilt shows. Okay, nothing there. See the shows available in 2021. Check. Okay, not up to date here. All 2020 quilt shows have been canceled. All right, so they haven't done anything much for updating that. I am wondering, I'm curious. Well, let's go to their FAQ. They don't sell notions, by looks like. Please note, if you're placing an order, So Little Time only accepts Visa and MasterCard. We cannot process Visa debit cards. Thanks for your business. Okay. Good to know. I'm kind of wondering if this store still exists. It just seems a little strange that they haven't updated things on here, like under quilt shows and things. I don't know. They don't have notions, as I've already said. So really, they don't have a lot. Okay. Long arm quilting. You need a consultation appointment, which I would say is about right. Also have 80/20 batting and wide backing available for sale. I didn't see batting listed in their fabric selections or anywhere, so maybe that's just for people who are getting their services for long arming. Yeah, okay. Let's check out their shipping and see what they charge for that. 1 to 3 days shipping, Canada Post. Okay. Orders over $225 will have free shipping. Wow, that's high. Shipping in the US, delivery time is 7 to 10 days. Goes by economical method. I would think it would take longer. And here you go. Here's what okay. Here's their shipping prices. So in Ontario, up to $25, $350, up to $55.50, up to $110, up to $200, $15. Okay. And rest of Canada, such, and US. Okay, I don't think their shipping is that bad as far as what it's costing. Okay. Oh, they've got a copyright here, says 2022. So that would suggest to me that they are still active. Links. Oh, they do have threads. I didn't see that anywhere else. And that's taking me to... Okay, that's just taking me to fabrics. Okay, so overall impression based on what I have seen here. I don't think it's worth my time to order anything from them. They don't have a huge selection. There may be some things there that appeal to some people. Don't have much in wide backing fabric. It almost looks to me like they may be more concentrating on their long arm services. Well, the next time I'm in the Cambridge area, I'll see if I can actually go into their store. Maybe in-store experience is is a better experience than their actual online. So that's so little time in Cambridge, Ontario. So that's it for me today. I think this episode's a little bit on the long side. Sorry about that, but I just had so many things I needed to tell you. So yeah, I hope you have a good week. I hope you have a creative week. And I don't know where you live, but the weather here this week is really nice. So kind of makes me want to get outdoors or go somewhere. But I don't know if we're going to get to go anywhere this week because we have other things on plan that are interfering with that kind of thing. So anyways, I hope it's a better week than last week was. Well, you know what I mean. Okay, you have a good one. Bye for now.